In today's conversation, I'm going to give you some insight and learning from a module in Wamley called Interview Guides. Now, as you can imagine, we are a one-way video interview platform. And the whole point of the entire system is the interview. And there would be no interview if there aren't any interview questions. And so in Wamley, you are able to set up an interview guide library with a bunch of templates with questions in each template that you will then link when you set up a project. And these are the questions that the candidates will answer while they're on their Wamley journey through our technology with the webcam on. And those are the actual answers that the panel, the raters, will be watching, listening, commenting, and scoring on the candidates. In today's conversation, I would like to just share with you some things that I would like you to consider when setting up your interview guide. Now, as I've mentioned previously in some of the other use case videos, it all starts with understanding the job. And for that to happen, you need a job profile or a job description or a role profile or a success profile. There are many labels out there, but basically a document describing the requirements of the job, what this person will be doing. And by understanding the job profile, you would then be able to, in Wamley, set up an interview guide. Now, if you did or did not have Wamley or any similar technology, this would be exactly the same when you are running an interview. And this is one of the biggest elements in traditional interviews that get done wrong. If you think of a traditional interview, in many instances, and this might be similar in your environment, the panel does not have a structured interview process. What does that mean? We end up having a coffee chat, an informal, unstructured conversation with the candidate where we're asking them a question, they're giving us an answer, that answer leads to a follow-up question, and the next moment we're 25 minutes down the rabbit hole and not really understanding or asking questions that will predict success in the job. And so Wamley, apart from the fact that we create a lot of efficiency, effectiveness, and fun, we've also built in some fundamental elements into setting up Wamley that will allow for best practice. From a research perspective, we know that the predictive validity of understanding job success sits in structuring your interview questions. In other words, you are creating consistency, standardization, and fairness because all the candidates are getting the same questions with the same time to think and the same time to answer. And so in Wamley, if you're a system administrator or an administrator, you would come on the left-hand side here and you'll click on Interview Guides, and you can see on my screen here that I have many templates. These templates are job titles, and behind every single job title, there are a set of questions that we've set up. Now in Wamley, you're obviously able to build your own interview guide templates. This is just an example of an administrative assistant job. So in Wamley, as I said, you are building your questions. Here are 3 elements that I would like you to consider when setting this up. Make sure that 1, you involve more than just HR in building an interview guide. Yes, human capital, talent acquisition, we understand what is required, but it is a great idea to involve your line manager as well, because from a technical and functional perspective, they understand what this candidate also requires and what they will be doing on a day-to-day basis in this specific job. So in building an interview guide, 3 elements I want you to consider. Technical questions, functional questions. So those are the skills, the knowledge that is required that on a daily basis the candidate will be doing. So formulate your questions around that. Then there are HR related questions like when can you start? What is your salary expectation? Do you have this minimum education or that minimum years of experience? Those are elements, by the way, that you can also pick up in setting up your form. Please refer to that video in the series. And then the third element are questions around culture and environment fit. So what is your passion? What is your purpose? What environment would you like to work in? What is the type of management style that you would like to work under? Do you like flexibility? What is your preferred choice of work style? So build your questions around that. As a rule of thumb, we're seeing our Wamley clients building interview guides with questions anything between 5 and 12 questions. In Wamley, there is no limit. You can set any amount of questions that you like, but that's typically the rule of thumb. I know a lot of clients ask us that, so I think it's valuable to share with you as an audience today. So anything between 5 and 12, it will all depend on the level. It will all depend on the information that you would like back. And it will all depend on where in your process you are. Some of our clients have one question, and it's linked to a very difficult problem that they must solve. And the answer time is not a minute or 2 minutes. The answer time is in fact maybe 5 minutes or 10 minutes. In this example here, you can see we've got 5 questions for the admin assistant. What are the most effective ways to partner with your line manager? How do you safeguard confidential information? What are your best methods for dealing with difficult people? Right down to what do you consider to be your strongest technical skills? Every question in the Whamly interview guide section, you can set the preparation and the answer time. What does that mean? The time to think before the webcam activates, and then the time to answer. Now, some use cases around the timing. If you don't want your candidate to Google, phone a friend, make notes, set your preparation time to 5 seconds, simulating a real-life interview scenario where I get asked a question and on the spot I have to literally answer. However, if you are happy for them to prepare, you can set the prep time for 3 minutes. And then by the time the webcam activates and the answer time starts, whatever your answer time allocation is, the candidate is then answering based on the notes and the preparation. It all depends on you. Thank you for listening to Interview Guides. As I mentioned in the intro, this is fundamental to the Whamly process. Please remember, if your questions are vague, if your questions are close-ended, with a yes and a no answer, if your questions aren't related to the requirements of the job, it's going to be very difficult for the panel to fairly differentiate between the candidates, actually creating some time wasting. So before you set up your Whamly project, really think about your questions. And if you're unsure, please reach out to us. We do have a big database of questions, relevant questions, industry standard questions for jobs. You can imagine the number of information and insights that we gather across all our clients. And we would be happy to share not client-specific questions, but industry standard questions with you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for being a client. And if you're not one yet, please reach out to us by visiting our website or emailing us at hello@whamly.io. Thanks for listening.